It's an absolute pleasure to welcome Danny Scopes to the From the Club podcast. Not just Danny Scopes, but Manager of the Year last season, Danny Scopes. Thanks for taking the time, Danny.
Yeah, hi David. Hope you're well, mate. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you, Danny. Danny, tell us everything we need to know about you in 60 seconds.
Yeah, big 50 this year. Got a family, two boys and a wife, married 20 odd years. Boys of 20 and 17, two boys. Family man, got my own business, or partner in a business that I run. Essex Supplies, involved in non-league football as a player and a manager of a couple of clubs in Concord Rangers and now Aveley FC.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Danny, your boys are the perfect age for watching them playing football. Are they football fans? Are they footballers themselves?
Yeah, they love their football. Yeah, they had no choice really. We're a football family, and my wife likes football, so I'm quite lucky in that way as well. My older boy doesn't play anymore, but played from sort of like 7 to 18s. He's at university, and my younger boy is 17. He still plays at under 18s, and he's been in an academy and out. And I've managed both their teams when they've been out of when my younger one was out the academy, right through from 7 to sort of 18. So yeah, it's been really enjoyable and my lad's at under 18s now, so he's got one more season left, and I'm still the coach and the manager for that team. So it's yeah, no, really good and enjoyable doing that and being with the family as well.
Ah, lovely. You say you're a footballing supporting family. Do you all support the same team? Did you
We
support
do,
anyone growing up?
yeah, we're Liverpool, believe it or not. So you can tell by the accent, I imagine. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did change. I'm not afraid to say it, and I get reminded of it quite a lot. And I was West Ham as a kid, and I played for West Ham from about 12 to 16, and then got released without sort of getting what you'd call like a scholarship. And I sort of lost my head a little bit with West Ham and decided I didn't want to support them anymore. And a good friend of mine who I met at college was a Scouser, and he was Liverpool, and he sort of talked me into being a Liverpool fan. And so it was in the tough times. It wasn't probably in the successful times. So I wasn't a glory hunter, but so I decided that they were going to be my team and sort of followed them ever since sort of like 16 years age. And obviously the boys being born, they sort of grew up in being Liverpool fans as well.
Yeah, well, there were certainly worse teams that you could have chosen to
Yeah,
support,
yeah.
Dan. So yeah, that was a good choice through the years, mate. Well, Danny, you of course had a life prior to Aveley Football Club, but we're going to be focusing much of our time around the amazing success that you've had over the last 2.5 years at Aveley. But just in case anyone listening don't know your backstory, what did you do in football prior to coming to the club?
I played youth football like as a youngster from like again from seven sort of under 18s for a thing called Echo Whitecaps locally where I live in Southend area, Essex area. Went on to sort of under 18s after I did that. I went into sort of Wakering Rovers, Great Waking Rovers. I just recently got to Wembley in the FA Vase final and a local team to me, and I played there. I played there for a season and left. Couldn't get in the team, so decided to go a different route. Played for another couple of teams, and then got asked to go back by the manager, and ended up playing there for 9 seasons. After that, I think I played nearly 450 games, and lots as captain, and a really good sort of career there. Really exciting, and then I felt the time was right to sort of move on in sort of later stages of my career. I went to another couple of local teams and then ended up at Concord Rangers as a player and thought it would be quite good for me. It was a bit of a step down in levels and I thought that would suit me as in my age and had a bit of a knee problem that I needed to manage. And I stayed at Concord Rangers for a couple of seasons before the manager left, and then I got asked to be the manager of Concord Rangers, which I didn't really want to do at the time because I wanted to focus on playing, but it became apparent that they wanted me, so I went for it. And fortunate enough, I did four seasons as manager at Concord Rangers before sort of stepping aside for about half a season, then going into Aveley where I am now.
Yeah. So for those that have never seen you play before, Dan, what sort of player was you?
Um, Probably not the prettiest, I would say, is probably what people would describe me as. And my role in the team, when I played at Wakering, I had a manager called Eddie Nash, who was he was very similar sort of player to what. Well, he made moulded me into the player that he was. He was quite aggressive, quite front foot, and leader of a team, and fighting battles for everybody. So I started my career in senior football as a centre midfielder, and I was a bit box to box, and used to win a lot of headers, win a lot of tackles and be quite and just my role in the team. And I used to get it and keep it simple and give it to the boys that could maybe a little bit more technical and could play a little bit better than me. And during my later stages, I went back to centre half, which I think I should have done earlier. Maybe I did much better with the game in front of me, a bit more controlled, and yeah. But I was always aggressive, front foot. Probably let myself down a little bit in terms of discipline and yellow and red cards over my career. So I do regret that now when I look back, and something I tell my kids about not to try and do. But yeah, I think I was a front foot. I like to look at myself as a leader, and I think obviously I've taken that into stepping into coaching and then stepping into managing it. Sort of like I think that's come with me really.
Yeah. You mentioned briefly earlier, you're also a successful businessman outside of football. Just tell us a little bit about that and what are the transferable skills that you were able to bring from the business world into the world of football?
Yeah, yeah. I didn't see myself going into this sort of business or what I was doing, and I'd been in America coaching, and I felt I could develop as a coach and still wanted to play at a decent level in non-league. But I come back, America didn't quite work out, so I come back and got a part-time job. And the guy I work for now, or I'm a partner with in the business, we're actually business partners. He was supplying this business at the time, and he said to me, "Look, would you want to come and work with me? And I feel you'd be quite good at it." And I actually went in as a van driver and a delivery driver. He would go out and get the orders, and I'd do the delivery, and that was how it worked. And I felt after time that I felt I could move into the sales. I felt I had the gift of the gab, and I felt I could do that as a younger, more handsome person now. I felt I'd be good at that. So I put myself out on the road and started selling what we do now, really. And, started from scratch without any customers and sort of tried to build it up. And fortunate enough, after a period of time, I was able to buy into the company and become a partner and grow the company to where it is now. And I think I've been doing it probably 30 years now as a business. And yeah, we're doing really well. And I think in terms of transferable skills, I think probably people skills, isn't it? I have to manage staff. I've got 7 or 8 staff that I have to manage on a regular basis to make sure they're happy and they're doing their jobs and their responsibilities. And then obviously dealing with customers, isn't it? And, getting to know people, and they say people buy off people, and I think that's important. And I think you can transfer that to football because I think players play for managers, so to speak. And if the player knows that you care about them, then and you respect them and you're there to help them, then they probably give you a little bit more. And I think a customer's the same, and a customer knows that you're there to support them and you back them up and you're honest with them, then they're probably likely to buy off you as well. So I think that's quite transferable. And I think also dealing with disappointments. I think in the sales industry, you often get a no. It's not always a yes, and you can knock on a lot of doors and speak to a lot of people and not always get rewards for that and or win the business. And you can accept that in football at times, and it might be a player that you don't sign or you can't sign or they turn you down or maybe losing a game of football, and you have to move on to the next one, don't you? And as I say, they say one door closes and look at the next one, and that might open up for you, and just keep knocking on them. And I think that's in football as well, never too high, never too low sort of mentality. And I do that in my business as well, and try and keep calm and relax with it. And just as long as you work hard, I think that transferable as well. You work hard, you're likely to get some success in whatever you do.
Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom there, Dan. Dan, just in case we've got any potential customers listening, what is it that you sell and how would somebody get in touch with you just in case?
Yeah, we probably sell about 4,000 products, I think it is in all, and probably a lot of our business goes to education. So we would sell to schools, so anything from
Right, yeah.
a nursery to an adult college, maybe in that sort of nursery bracket, in that school's education bracket, and then we would do sort of care homes, councils, local authority, and bits like that. And it's basically janitorial materials. So we sell anything to do with washroom supplies. We do PPE, so gloves, masks, aprons, bits like that, health and safety, sort of clothing,
Yeah.
first aid. It's endless, really. A bit of a one-stop shop. We do a lot of industrial machinery, like big sweepers and vacuums and scrubber dryers and bits like that. So you name it, we sort of sell it. Really, is our sort of motto, and
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
quite, like I say, quite important in schools. A lot of schools have that, and then councils as well. So yeah, we feel we're honest, hard-working company. Not the biggest in the industry, but we work quite hard, and we've got quite a good customer base and quite a loyal customer base as well. So yeah, so if anyone needs any toilet rolls, then I'm your man. So.
Yeah, definitely. And what have you got a website, Dan? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, yeah. www.essexsupplies.co.uk. It's got our website, it's got everything on there, and there's a link to put a request in. So yeah, so if anyone's interested, we're only really supplying the Essex and local area. We are looking to sort of branch out a little bit. We haven't found the need to do that just yet because we do all our own deliveries, but as a business, we will look to branch out hopefully in time and try and grow. And we're okay at the moment with what we've got, but something in the future we'd like to be able to do as well.
Yeah, great stuff, Dan. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. So let's go back to the beginning. Just paint a scene for us. How did you end up at Aveley, and what was it about the project that made you keen to join?
Yeah, well, I left Concord Rangers. I had a really good, successful period, 2 seasons at Concord Rangers in COVID season, so they weren't full seasons. So I didn't actually finish the season because they got stopped quite early because of COVID. And we had an FA Trophy run where we got to Wembley at Aveley, Concord over a course of 2 seasons, and we had that Wembley final. And I just felt it was right to move away from Concord at the time and try and go to another football club. I had a lot of friends at Concord and like really strong relationships, but I felt I wanted to be a football manager and wanted to answer to a chairman or a CEO or a board of directors rather than friends who were probably close friends. And I never felt at Concord Rangers I'd probably get the sack, or but I
Yeah.
wanted that was to be a proper football manager in that way. So that was my thought process behind that. So it took a big decision to walk away from Concord Rangers after having a successful couple of seasons and stepping away from it. But I felt it was the right thing to do. I wanted to get back into managing at Step 2 football, but that was limited. Obviously, not loads of clubs around this area, and people already had jobs. Not a lot of Essex clubs within that National South Step 2 environment. So I thought I'd probably have to maybe start again or try something else. And had a couple of offers at one club I went for, and I got to the final two, but didn't get the job. And another club I nearly committed to, and then sort of changed my mind at the last minute, and that was at Step 4, and walked away. And then I knew the CEO at Aveley, Craig Johnson, for quite a while because we trained at the same facility as them for Concord Rangers and Aveley. And when I played football, he was been always involved with very good footballing man, been around Aveley Football Club and built Aveley Football Club from the bottom up, really, with other directors and chairmen. And I sort of knew Craig quite well, and he reached out, and they'd made a bit of a iffy start to the season, not maybe hit the heights that they wanted to. And he said to me that he was going to make a change, and he was going to change manager. Would I be interested? And I said, okay, let's have a chat. I said, if you're going to change, then let's have a chat. If you're not really sure, then let's leave it until you make that decision, because how football works. But I wanted to make sure it was done properly. And he said, no, we're 100% making a change, and if it's not you, it'll be someone else. And I went and had a couple of chats with him, and I thought it was really positive. He sold the club to me, and Aveley Football Club, they've moved probably about 6 years ago to a brand new stadium, new 3G pitch back then in 6 years ago, a big, massive new stadium, doesn't look out of place at Step 2 and good potential to go higher. And we had a couple of good conversations, and I just felt it was a good project. I felt he wanted to move it in the right direction. I felt the squad that they had was good, and I could go in and have an influence on that squad. I watched them couple of times, so I knew what they had, and I knew some of the characters and the people they had in the dressing room, and I felt I could go and have an impact in there and sort of grow it. And it was a bit of a gamble, obviously, moving into Step 4 football from Step 2, but I felt it was the right thing to do, and I felt it was the right club for me at that moment, and that proved out that it proved that it was in the end. So that was really important. But I just see some headspace, and I think that's important, and didn't worry too much in the end about the level. I just wanted to see there was room to grow, and
Yeah,
that headspace we could move into, and there was. And I think I made the right decision with what's gone on now and moving ourselves forward. And I think it's a message I'd give to a lot of managers. Sometimes we want to manage at a certain level, but sometimes you have to go to the right club and the right people maybe before the level, and then work your way and then grow. And if it's meant to be, then you will develop. And fortunate enough, we managed to get a couple of promotions and get to Step 2.
yeah. No, that's really wise, Dan. And like you mentioned, the stadium, he's definitely got the wow factor. I mean, me and my son come to see you a couple of weeks ago for the pre-season friendly with Dagenham, and as you drive into the car park, I mean, it's got the wow factor, isn't it? You see the new stadium. It's a fantastic facility.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm a bit old fashioned. I like some of the old stadiums, and I love going to the old grounds like Bath, Twerton Park, and
Oh yeah,
other old stadiums stadiums. I love all that, but also a big fan of the modern stuff, and and the way that football's going in that, and the experience that supporters can get within stadiums, and it's an asset to us because people know the stadium, and the pitch is used quite a lot by other clubs and cup finals. So a lot of youngsters know the stadium and know the facility and talk how wonderful it is, and it's nice. And looking at recruitment, we bring people to the stadium and
Yeah,
show them round. It ticks all the boxes, and they come in with that. Oh yeah, that's why I want to play my football, and that sort of helps us. It helps us get players through
yeah,
the door, and obviously young players sort of strive, and our young players in our own academy strive to keep playing at that stadium. And like I say, it's developing as well. Even in the 2 years I've been there, we've got new terraces, new stands, new turnstiles, a new pitch gone in, the floodlights have been upgraded, the goals and all little stuff, but all the little bits add up, and they're quite important for football clubs, and it shows it's moving forward all the time, which again I think that's important.
yeah, for sure. You mentioned you joined the club in November 2021, I think it was, and here we are recording a week before the 24-25 season kicks off. What's happened at the club over those 2.5 years, Dan?
Yeah, well, we obviously we went in about November time, wasn't it? I think it was, and the club was sitting
Yeah,
around about seventh or eighth, I think, and gone out a couple of cup competitions, and the league was the focus, and the previous manager and the chairman and the CEO wanted to get promoted, and we sort of went in with the sort of no pressure to get promoted. They said, look, see what you can do, see how you go. If we can get playoffs, brilliant, go from there, but let's try and build, and then hopefully next year we can go again and move forward. And I sort of went in, I knew the squad that we had, and I felt if I could give it a bit of structure and a bit of shape to it, and the quality we had in that squad, and I added a bit of quality to that, I felt that we could do really well. And I think it's Canvey Island were at the time, and they were like 9 or 10 points clear of us in the league. And I remember standing in front of the players on that first meeting, and they always talk about first meetings, and the first words you say are sometimes the most important, aren't they? And I said, look,
yeah,
we're going to get promoted, and we're going to catch Canvey Island. And I walked out the meeting, and my assistant manager went, "Oh, that was a bit of a bold prediction. We've got to back that up now." And it's actually what we did, and we went and done that, and we managed to get the group going. There was a bit of unrest at the start because we were new, and they felt we were going to come in and rip it up and change it. And I had my own squad, but we didn't. We wanted to come in and work with them players, and we made that clear that we were there to help them rather than replace them, and that's what we did. And we got it going, and I think we went on. I think we played 18 games, and I think we drew one, lost one, and won 16. I think it was something like that, and
yeah,
won the league. Managed to win the league with a game to spare as well. So it was an unbelievable achievement from the group of players, and real good experience from the management team and a group of players coming together, and a club coming together and win the league and win step four and get ourselves promoted. Obviously, that gives us another challenge in going into step three, and the aim of going into step three was to stay in step three and not get relegated. We didn't want to be a yo-yo club that sort of goes up and down, and I felt we could be competitive. We had some boys playing at step four that probably were comfortable to go and play step three as well, and it was just about adding the right characters to that group and trying to be successful. And we won our first couple of games and got into the sort of around the playoffs, and I think it was probably 2 weeks only over the course of the whole season we weren't in the playoffs, which was a real good achievement as a newly sort of promoted team, and managed to creep in the playoffs at last place, which I was pleased about because it meant we had to go away to Canvey Island, and if we won that it was away to Cray or Hornchurch. Turned out to be Hornchurch, and I wanted to play away. I thought that would take the pressure off us and put pressure on other people. I think home games are tough sometimes in playoffs because everybody expects you to win or behind your home support. So managed to creep in, and then beat Canvey in the semi-final on penalties, and then beat Hornchurch in the final, and then we find ourselves as a step two football club quite quickly. And obviously, to move forward 2 leagues and double promotions really good, but there's a lot of problems with that as well in terms of squad updating squad, but also off the pitch as well. And the difference between step two, what you need to do, and the professionalism compared to maybe step four, and nothing wrong with step four, is a big jump, and a big commitment for the football club. So not only on the pitch, me as a manager, I've got to get a team that can survive at step two. We've got to make sure the football club can grow behind the scenes as well, and the infrastructure of it has to grow as well. And fortunate enough, we have good people in good places behind the scenes, and that's sort of grown as well with us as a football club, which leads us to being in our second season at step two now.
yeah. Well, Dan, it's an incredible achievement, and you all deserve so much credit for what you've done. And you rightly, like we mentioned earlier on, you very, justifiably won Manager of the Year last year for representing the club. Having been promoted into the National League South for the 23-24 season last season, I think many people would tipped you guys to go straight back down. But what was your own personal expectations for last season? Did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that it would go the way that it did?
Yeah, I was really, I was quite excited. I was pleased that people did tip us to finish bottom. I quite like that because I've always been an underdog. Concord Rangers was a low budget football club with not a lot of supporters, and my time, and then obviously after me with people like Danny Cowley that managed the football club, and it was all always up against the odds, and I feel that that's ingrained in me. I like that as a player, and I like that as a manager. So I was quite pleased when people started doubting us and writing us off, because I think you can only get better from that. And because if you foul and they're all proven right, everyone says, "Oh, they were right," and no one really notices. If you're tipped to be at the top, and maybe a bit different this year when we get to that, how the expectations are, but you're tipped to be at the top, then you've got to try and follow that up. So I think it took a lot of pressure off us as a football club, and we took that pressure off the players, and I got no pressure from the committee or the board of people to say, yeah, we've got to do this or that. And our main focus was not to get relegated, and that was, everybody was on the same page in that. And when the fixtures come out, you look at the National League South fixtures, especially as your first team or first time being in that division as a club, are quite scary, aren't they? And you look and where's the first points coming from? It's a bit of mind boggler, and it's tough. So we just broke it down. We said, come on, let's just have a go. Let's be organised and disciplined. Be hard to play against. See how we get on. And we had a really good start, which probably give us that little bit of momentum, and got us a bit of energy to get going, and sort of thrived on that, and we were up the top of the table. I think we were top at one point, and sort of, everybody was talking about Aveley Football Club all of a sudden, and but we kept the mentality that we're top now, but that's good because we've only got to finish out of the bottom four. That's the challenge, and simple as that. So it never really added any pressure to me. It never really added any pressure from above me, and then that relates to the players. So the players could go and enjoy themselves, and it's exactly what we did last year. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed coming up against full-time teams. We enjoyed coming up against the good teams and the good players, and we had a lot of boys within our squad that had never played Step 2 football, and I had a little bit of experience of watching Step 2 and then managing Step 2, but still quite naive at that, maybe with just a couple of seasons managing rather than watching, and we just learned, and we just stuck together, and I think if you get a good group like that, and we probably maybe didn't have the best players, but I think we had the best morale, we had the best work rate, we had the to finish in the playoffs, and we lost a few players on the way to other clubs, so we had to rebuild, and we had to add and bring in new people, and a lot of them people were people that hadn't played the level before, so we've got to embed them into a team mid-season, which is tough. And I think rightly so. I think we deserved that final playoff place in the end for looking at our overall season, our overall performances and efforts in that season.
Yeah, no, 100%, Dan, definitely. And you did it playing good football as well, didn't you, mate? I mean, I watched you play twice last year, and you played good football. You've got athletes in your team as well, haven't you? Good players, and you
Yeah.
play good football.
Yeah, I like energy. I like high tempo. It can sometimes be a balance of getting the energy and the enthusiasm and the rock and roll type football, but then getting the quality in that as well. And that's something we have struggled with, and something we're trying to evolve as a football club to do. And be a bit more pretty at times, a little bit more quality rather than quantity in our work. But and I'd always thrive. I like athletes. I like people that can get around the pitch. I think if you're tough to play against, then you stand a chance, don't you? I think that's your armoury, and we always looked at it, and we did the same at Concord Rangers. We never had the same weapons as other teams did, and we weren't afraid to admit that. And it was often like going into battle with water pistols against tanks and cannons and
Yeah,
stuff like that. But so we had to make sure we could stop them first, and that was our main focus. Can we stop the opposition, and then use our energy and our enthusiasm to try and get something at the other end? And we played good football. We started really well. We had a bit of a wobble in the middle where things went a bit wrong, but we didn't panic. We didn't get too disappointed. We kept the group together. The ones we added where we needed to add, rather than just ripping it all up and changing it. And we bounced back. And brought in a couple of loans, which helped us as well along the way, and we bounced back. And as I said, I think we rightly deserved that seventh place in the end. And I don't think anybody could sort of say it was fluked in the end. I think it was deserved as I said, over the course of the whole season, and the performances of the boys. And I have to give full credit to the dressing room, because it was one of the best dressing rooms I've been in, and a real humble dressing room, a real enthusiastic, young, hungry dressing room, and it was a pleasure to go in and try and help them. So it was really good.
Yeah. Are there any highlights that sort of stand out as you think back and you daydream about last season? Is there any real sort of high points that bring you joy when you think about them?
Yeah, I think there was loads. I think we went to Maidstone early on and played really, really well and won 2-1 in a real good game, football. And I think probably the two results that stand, the one that really stands out was probably Torquay away. Not we drew in the end 2-2, and we were 2-0 down at half time and come back in the second half to draw 2-2. And it was just, I don't know if you remember, it was just as Torquay went into administration. It was literally that weekend. The build up to that was all talk of them going into administration, and I think the chairman left and Gary Johnson, the manager, had walked out, and the club had. You'd think the club would be down on its knees, but it was almost like they were quite pleased that the chairman's left, the fans, and the manager had left. He'd got a bit of stick, so the fans were quite excited for that. And we got there at 1:15. It'd been a long day. We'd been up since 6 o'clock in the morning trying to travel there and get there. It'd been a tough journey. Got there about 1:15, and the stadium was already half full. And by 2 o'clock it was like rammed, and
Yeah.
because they were sort of celebrating, like they were celebrating. Sounds really weird because they were going into administration, but they were having a party because the manager wasn't in their favourite and the chairman wasn't, and it was loud, it was vocal, you couldn't hear yourself in the warm up, and it was a real good experience. And I remember standing on the middle of the pitch watching our boys warm up and turning watching their team warm up, and they had some real good players, and just listening to the noise that their fans were making. And it was a real environment, and it was, it's a lovely stadium, a lovely ground, and it just felt so special at that moment. And we were comfortable by then, we weren't ever getting relegated, so I just stood there and really enjoyed that moment. And I think that's always going to stick with me, and watching them Torquay fans, who I'm a football fan at the end of the day, and them to feel that they were going into trouble, but going to get out of that trouble with the changes that were probably ahead and that have happened now, and to watch them celebrate that as a football person was good to watch. And obviously then super proud of our team. It was so loud you couldn't hear yourself, you couldn't get information onto your team or your players in that environment. 4,000 people sort of screaming against you, and we probably had about hundreds of fans. We were travelled, which is brilliant for us in the corner, but they were behind the dugout, and went in 2-0 down at half time, probably a bit deserved or not deserved, wasn't quite sure, but said, come on, let's just have a go. And we had a real good go second half, and thought we were unlucky not to probably win it in the end. So that was probably one moment that, not because we won, but just a real special day last year. And then probably Yeovil at home was the other one, midweek, Monday night, the Oval, full-time football club. They were running away with the league. I think they needed a few more points to sort of get promoted, and rightly so. They deserved to win the league. They were by far the best squad and by far the best team, and they'd beat us 3-0 at their place and run rings round us almost. It was, it was tough watch, and it was tough for our players, but we got them back to our place on our pitch, and we played really, really well. We drew in the end 0-0, and again another draw, but I was really proud of our group of players again on that day, because they took them to the wire and frustrated them and showed what we were really about as sort of Aveley Football Club. So yeah, there are a couple that sort of stand out, and then obviously the last couple of games, beating Bath last day of the season to secure the playoffs, and then even the Maidstone game, losing 1-0 in front of again 5,000 people, and I couldn't be prouder of our football club and the players that played a part in that journey.
Yeah, amazing. Damn, really good stuff, mate. And Aveley as a club, as we've said, are not blessed with the biggest budget, but you as a manager thrived in that environment. What's been your secret, Danny?
Um, yeah, I'm not sure there's a secret. I think I quite try and be humble, and I think it needs a lot of people in the right places. It needs a lot of understanding. It needs a lot of people to be under the same page and understand what you can do and what you can't do. And if you've got if I'm a manager with a smaller budget and I'm chasing big dreams and big players and trying to spend that money and the club can't afford that, then that's not going to work. So I think the manager has to be on board with the CEOs and the directors and the chairmans, and they have to be on board with the manager. And I think that's what we've got at Aveley. They understand I'm not going to treat that budget as my own in a way, and I try and look after it, because at Concord Rangers, where we had less money, we had to spend really wisely, so we don't overpay. And again, it goes back to the business time. Sometimes someone wants X amount of money to sign them, or they want a contract and they want this and they want that, and sometimes you have to say no, because it'd be nice to have that player, but it's no good having that player and then no strength in depth behind that or no squad behind that. So we look at balance of squad, make sure that we've got good cover, people that can play maybe various positions, because there'll be times where we have injuries and we haven't got 24 people to call on, we've got 16, so someone that could play 3 or 4 positions is a massive asset for us. So they may not be the best player in all them positions, but they probably deserve a little bit more budget or a little bit more wage than someone else in another position, because they help us as a football club. And I think if we get that right, and we do our recruitment right, and we do that process right, and we're all on the same page, then I think that's what gives you that foundation to move forward. And then it's about pushing and leading and driving people forward and showing people you care about them. And I say that all the time. And I don't know everything about football management. I don't know everything about tactics. I look up stuff every day and learn something new every day, which is brilliant in regards football. And I won't claim I know it all, but I think if I can get people in my dressing room that are willing to work hard and be together, then I think that gives us that foundation to go and do stuff. And we learn on the job as well. At times you have to learn and you have to adapt, you have to be flexible. Injuries or players out, suspensions, other teams changing shapes and formations. And I think you do your homework, work really hard. I think that's probably the key to success. And that's not just me, that's a management team, that's players, and that's people at the football club as well, right through from media people to kit man to photographer, and they all got to line up. And I think that's what we've had at Aveley over the last few seasons. Everything's lined up in a row, and it's important that we keep that going. And it's easy to do that when you get success. You learn a lot about people when maybe things don't go so well. So we might have to suffer a little bit. This season might take a little bit of pain at times or periods in this season. It's making sure that everybody don't get carried away, don't get too disappointed, and everyone stays on a level keel and everyone knows what the journey's about. And our journey is to stay in the division again this year, and that's not being negative, but that helps us grow and that helps us develop for the following season. And that's what we want to do, because we want to establish ourselves as what you would call a step 2 football club.
Yeah. As we know, Dan, in the National League, there's no transfer window. So how, you operate in an environment where your players can kind of get picked off under your feet at any time. It happened with you last year, didn't it? Matt Rush and John Benton moved on. How do you kind of operate in that environment? Do you already, in your mind, have a replacement for, a centre-back if someone comes in for one of them, a goalkeeper? Have you got someone in the back of your mind at all times? Kind of, what's your thinking on that?
Yeah, I think so. I've got quite a few contacts. I've been around a long time, so you talk to people, and people are quite willing to talk, and word gets around of other players. Maybe we have to shop in the right markets. It's no good me shopping in the EFL and hoping that one falls out there to Aveley Football Club. That's probably not going to happen, and even in the National League, that's probably not going to happen. And so we have to shop in the right market, which might be the levels below, step 3, step 4, step 5, and we have to try and find the gems and the people that maybe are ripping it up, and then take a bit of a gamble at times and give them opportunities to come through. So we work that way with our recruitment. We're not blessed with a recruitment department, but I've got 2 or 3 guys that work with us, and we've got a little group, and we talk and we communicate, and we get a lot of calls from agents with players, and we make note of all them. We don't just dismiss them, and we make a note of them players, and got a bit of a profile of every position and every player, and we look at what other teams are doing and other teams and how they're working, and who's not playing maybe in another team at top of the division that might fall out, that we might be able to grab and help. And I always think sometimes we have to get the ones that maybe have had disappointments. They might have been released from academy football and they're looking for a chance to bounce back. We've got a couple this year that have signed on that basis, or boys that have gone up through the level and it's not quite worked out, they haven't been good enough, or it's not worked out for various reasons and they've lost their love a little bit and they're bouncing back down. Can we pick them up? Or have had disappointments at other clubs and floated around, and we look at them and we think if they're the right character, can we get them in a settled environment, arm round the shoulder, look after them, and then try and grow them from there and make them into step two players at times, because some of our players come in and they're not step two players. But if we can get players and try and help them and make them, and we've had some that have left us this year that we helped make them into step two players, then that's a good recipe for us as well. But yeah, like I say, we're a small couple of guys, help with the recruitment and stuff. I have to keep my ears and eyes to the ground and watch and listen, and social media helps you at times with that. But we try and be patient. We don't like too many changes. We look at everything in 10-game blocks, so we try and stick with the same. We will only sign if we feel it's going to make us a lot better, or we have to, in terms of it, long-term injuries or suspensions or people moving on. And we won't just, we give people opportunity and we try and give them a chance. And not always, because some we have to make a decision and we have to be bold with that, and they're tough decisions. But we like to think we get more right than we get wrong. And sometimes they're bits of gambles, but I think they're the best signing sometimes, when someone comes in and you're not quite sure if they could adapt to the level, and then all of a sudden with a bit of work they thrive and they kick on, and I think they're the best ones sometimes to see.
Yeah. Dan, I mean, I can only put myself in your shoes and imagine what it's like. But I mean, is it real mixed emotions when you end up taking a call from a big club who wants to nick one of your players? There's obviously a part of you that thinks, you'd really like to keep them at the club because it's good for the team. But then, is there a sense of pride, the fact that you've been personally involved in their development as well, when you're sort of seeing them kick on? How does that kind of work in your mind, Dan?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think great question. I think it's pride. It has to be pride, and again, it goes back to us all being aligned and knowing what we're about at this moment. And ideally, we want to keep our best players long term and grow as a football club. And if we're going to grow, we're going to have to do that. And we want to keep people in the building. And if we can't keep them in the building, we want to. If they leave the building, we want something for them. We want a fee for that. And we had boys leave on non-contract, so we don't get nothing for that. So we get a pat on the back and a tick to say well done, and you've helped these players, and we take pride in that, and I use that personally. I think that's, I really like that. It's really, really pleasing for me to see someone I love people being successful, and whether that be within my management team, my physio team, my media team, or the club, and players. I want people to thrive. I want people to do well. And I've had my time as a youngster. I'm now a bit older, and why would I stand in anyone's way of trying to move up the ladder and do well and earn a career and earn money in football, or have the luxury of being a full-time footballer? So I'm comfortable in that, and the football club's comfortable in that. But we are aware that we need to try and make sure we either get something for that in terms of their development, so we get some compensation or a fee or something back into our football club, because then that helps our football club grow, and that gets us a step closer to being the club that keeps its players and stuff. But you have to be realistic, because it's like a food chain, is it? People will take my players, and then I'll go and it's probably more worry for the managers in the league below if someone goes out of Aveley to go higher, because we start looking down below to
Yeah.
go, who you got down there? So, and that's how it works. But then they would look below, and that's how it works, isn't it? Players jump up a level, sometimes two levels in the norm, and I think you have to accept it. And I think I'm old enough now not to get too frustrated with it. It's tough, and the initial reaction is to go, oh right, okay, what we got? Who's in the building that could step into them shoes, or who do we need to bring in the building to do that? But I think it's all I say to the players that they've moved on. That could be you next, and that helps with our recruitment. That might be you. You've stepped in their shoes. You could be the next one that goes up the level. So one door closes, another one opens for another player, and I think that's been proven over the last couple of years with boys moving through us, and hopefully we can do that again this season. And nothing would give me more pleasure than watching people be successful with us. And then if they move on and to higher things and better things, then why not?
Yeah, and of course, Dan, as fans of football, we only see the bit of the players missing on the pitch and they're not playing anymore. But of course, you're actually also going to be missing the characters. There's actually a friend who's now leaving the dressing room and it's going to affect their mates, and you're having to also manage that kind of ecosystem in a dressing room as well. So I wanted to kind of ask you that, Dan. I mean, when you are obviously signing these players, what's more important for you? Is it skill or is it character? Because you've obviously got to then integrate them into the squad, make sure that they do fit amongst all of their friends. What's more important for you, Dan, when you're signing these players?
Yeah, sometimes we can't. Sometimes there's limited information on what they do. You can watch games back. Sometimes with boys down the pyramid, you don't really get. You might get a highlight reel, mightn't you? That you get to. No one ever shows their bad highlight reel, do they? They always show the good highlight reel. And I'd probably sign a player if he said, "Look, these are the bad bits and these are the good bits." They're probably the players that I would go, right, I want you, because you're looking in the mirror and you're understanding
Yeah,
what's going on. And so I wish they would do that. I don't think they're ever going to do that as non-league players. But you could do a bad and a best, and then let the manager judge. Then that would be really good. But I'm not sure that will happen. But yeah, I think character. We have to go on character, and we have to look at various things. Location. Where do they travel from? Can they get there? Do they drive? Can they? Is it going to be troubling for them to get there at 7 o'clock or 6:30 on a Tuesday night for a game, or a Monday night for a game? Is that a
yeah,
problem? And they do that with work. So I think you could sign people. I get offered people from all over the country at times, and I just have to say I don't think it's going to work. And why should they sit in a car for 2 hours and then try and run around for 90 minutes? It's not going to work. So we look at things like that, and then we talk to people. We try and talk to other people that maybe they've played under or managed, and don't go too much off that opinion, because I think everybody's different, and then it's a bit of gut feel on it sometimes. And sometimes you chat to someone and you get a feel for them, or you get I think, yeah, I could help this person, or they're the right character for us. And I do think character and attitude probably gets you into an Aveley dressing room, or our dressing room, and then talent probably, once that attitude's in there, then the talent probably keeps you in there as well and keeps you going.
yeah,
And you can try and nurture the talent. If you've got the right attitude, then you're willing to do that as well with us. And I think
100%.
someone said, didn't they, you get them on the bus and we'll find them a seat. And I think you can get
Yeah,
everybody on the bus that's a good character. Chances are that'd be a good journey, won't it? Because
yeah.
everybody's a good place. You get a bus full of people that maybe aren't the right characters, you're probably not going to be a great journey for you. Yeah.
Yeah, we've all heard those stories where Harry
Mm.
Redknapp's had to manage Paul Merson and Sir Alex
Yeah.
Ferguson's managed Eric Cantona.
Yeah.
I always like to
Yeah.
ask managers, Dan, has there been many occasions where you've got it wrong and a player's come in and who hasn't quite had the right attitude and you've had to manage that situation?
Yeah, I haven't had loads. Yeah, being totally honest, over my management career was in the early days was a bit different. We had a good turnaround of players, because sometimes when you're successful and you go through, and in my early management days at Concord Rangers, the first time round we had like 3 promotions in 4 seasons, so we had to turn around players quite quickly, and Essex scene always sort of resolved around that way. So, but I didn't have many bad characters. I don't think so. We had a couple that, that push your buttons at times and you tip you to the edge, and almost like gasp at times with things they would say or things they would want to do or how they would see the picture. And I'm quite relaxed. I think everybody's different, so you have to accept that they might see it different to you. And if you force your way on them, then that probably doesn't always work. So you have to maybe try and get them to compromise, and then you can compromise and try and find a way and convince them that your way maybe is a little bit better than their way. And that it's a battle, isn't it, and a challenge.
Yeah,
But I quite enjoy it as well, and I think it's important. And I haven't managed too many characters that I would not. I don't think there'd be too many that I wouldn't be able to pick the phone up to and have a good conversation with, because we've ended on that sort of bad terms. And I don't think, hopefully, there's not too many people. People might say different, but maybe in my playing days they might not have wanted to pick the phone up and chat to me after a game. But in terms of being a manager, I think there's not many maybe that would hopefully come back and go, no, he's, don't like that manager, or he did this, he did
yeah,
that. I think if I can carry on that way and I can leave football management being that type of character that people respect, a bit of honesty, and might not be able to give them what they want, might have to let them go sometimes, or release them, or not pick them in the team. But as long as I'm honest and upfront with that, I think they can respect that and understand that's probably part of the game. But yeah, I've had a couple of characters, and some of the characters are good friends of mine and still good friends of mine. And I've managed them, I've played with them, I've managed them, and then I'm friends with them as well. So I've gone through that full sort of circle. And I think they always say as a manager, you have to be their best, you have to be their friend, but not their best friend, maybe. And there's a fine line, isn't it? It's a bit different when you're a
Yeah,
coach, as that way. But yeah, I've had some good characters and people like one come to mind, story come to mind was a guy called Danny Hill, who I knew personally, and we played together at Wakeford for a little bit. And then I went into Concord, and he was there when I went back to play for them. We played together, and then I become the manager, and he was a player at that point, and we'd socialised together, and we'd been close friends over a period of time. And then I become his manager, and then myself and Danny Cowley become his manager, and I think we helped him. I think we made him a better player, but we had that sort of real close relationship, and then we had to leave him out at times and drop him. So it was a hard one, but I think he got disappointed. We were disappointed, but it never ended in bad terms, and we still speak regular, and he's still a close friend now. And I remember one time he was playing really well, and he'd come in and he'd gone in the office and he'd seen a team sheet on the table and he wasn't on it. His name wasn't on it on the team sheet. So he picked his bag up and stormed out because he'd been playing really well, rightly so. Thought he'd been dropped and went out to his car. And we went in, me and Dan, to do the team talk, and we went, "Where's Hillsey? Where is he?" Sort of thing. And went, "Oh, he's gone. He felt he's been dropped, so he's gone left." And he went, "No, he's not. He's playing. Look, he's on the team sheet." And he'd seen the team. We had a cup game in the midweek, and that was the
ah,
team for the midweek cup game, and he was being rested. So he grabbed his bag. So we were on the phone to him going, "Where are you?" He said, I'm not happy." I said, "Well, you need to get back because you're playing." And he was that type of character. He was really
yeah,
disappointed. He loved his football, but he loved his social life as well. And it was just about managing that. But he was brilliant for Concord Rangers. He went on and had a really good career at Concord and Canvey Island, and he managed himself in the end. And he always used to talk to me about when he managed how tough it was. And I said, "If you manage it and you've got anybody like you in your dressing room, you're going to find it tough." And we've had a laugh about it. But yeah, he's a good friend still now to this day.
yeah. Yeah, good. Then we're just getting to the end of a pre-season period, and one of the interesting things that happens at this time of year is the involvement of trialists training and playing in friendlies to try and obviously win a contract with the club. It's an area that fans know very little about. We see a player, trialist F, and we end up falling in love with them over pre-season. How does that whole process work, Danny?
Yeah, we don't divulge a lot in pre-season at Aveley Football Club, so we won't put team sheets up. So it makes it even harder for our supporters, and you
Yeah,
can see them talking and going, "Who's that one? Who's that one?" and picking the numbers out. And they come and approach me afterwards. "Oh, I like that one. I like that one," because they've got nothing at all. They don't know whether they're signed or they're trialists, because we quite keep it in house as best we possibly can. And so it is tough, and I understand that. And I've been a supporter, and I've watched non-league football for years when I stepped away, and I've done the same. And it is challenging for supporters to see that. And pre-season is challenging. I always call it a logistical nightmare because you're trying to organise, and you've got that early stage where you need, people can't play more than four. I wish I could reinvent pre-season where people could come back and just go straight into 90 minutes, and boys are coming back fitter and fitter. So I think we're
yeah,
closer to that maybe, but there's always going to be that early stage where you get the 2:45s and you get two teams of 11 and 11 on and 11 off at half time, and load of trialists. And the problem you get, and ideally, like, we signed quite a few players from last year, so we had quite a solid squad. We had good numbers, and that probably was our squad. We only had spaces for two or three, but then you're inviting in, 5, 6, 7 trialists to come in because they want to try and break in. And me as a manager, I'm looking and I'm quite loyal, thinking you're gonna have to really go some to get in. So I find it hard for the trialists because they want an opportunity, they want to prove themselves, they want a chance, and you give them that chance. But deep down, there maybe isn't a chance because me as a manager is quite loyal to what we've got in there, and they'd have to really go and rip it up. And we were only looking for 2, 3 probably positions. But we can't just run with our squad. We can't kill our squad all the way through pre-season. So I feel for trialists. I think it's really tough. And I think the problem you have in non-league and part-time football is you've not got the contact time to actually judge that player properly. You do your homework. Even if they come in, if they come out in the academy, you might not know much about them, but you're going to give them 2 45 minutes. You might give them a 60 minutes with a mixed up team. They might get unlucky and play with a team that maybe hasn't got a proper centre half, so they're a bit weaker, or no forward, or so it's not right. And then they're in for 2, 3 weeks in the building. You're going to run them in training and do all your fitness work in training. So they're not going to get an opportunity to game-based stuff in training early on. And then after 2 weeks, you've got to sit down with them and they go, oh, well, what do you think? And I wouldn't want a player to judge me after 2 weeks of being in my
Yeah,
company as a manager and go, oh, he's really good manager or really bad manager. And so how can I judge a player in that? So I think it's a real issue at part time to try and, you have to make the decision, but you're probably not making the decision on enough context or enough information. And then players don't want, obviously you're cautious of that player staying the whole pre-season and then being told you don't want them because it misses on other opportunities. So I really see it from a trialist point of view, and I have to talk to people, and I've done it this summer, and say, look, thanks, but no thanks at the moment. But please don't take that personally because I don't really know enough about you, and I've gone off a really limited game or a limited moment, probably when it hasn't been at your best for you. And so it is a tough period. It is tough for a manager to try and manage, but I really feel for these players, and there seems to be more and more players that are looking for football clubs. And we
yeah,
probably could pick 3 or 4 teams of trialists to play in games if we wanted to. But yeah, not sure that it's a bit different if you go in as a new manager and your team's left, then you've got to recruit from scratch. It's a bit different, and you need them trialists, and you've got to try and
yeah,
get the right ones. But when you've got a bit of an established squad or a core to that, then it's hard for them boys. And I just try and be honest with them as early as I can. But it's probably an uneducated yes or no sometimes with them because I haven't had enough contact time to get to know them or know exactly what they're like as a footballer, and only so much homework you can possibly get maybe on them.
yeah. So what is contact for you as a part-time club, Dan? How often do you see the players at Aveley?
Yeah, we'd play on a Saturday, so that would be players would be in at 1:15 and they'd leave the building at 6 o'clock, and it's quite frantic and hectic and emotional all the day. So you get to speak to individuals, but there's a bit of structure, and we've got a lot of time within that and managing the game. And then your contact time, if you haven't got a game, then you've got 2 training sessions. At step 2, most teams would train twice. So we train on a Monday night and then a Thursday night. Boys would be in by about 7:15 for 7:30 start, and we'd probably be done by about 9 o'clock. So it's about an hour and a half in terms of, and you've got to fit in analysis, you've got to fit in opposition analysis, your previous game analysis, you've got to fit in a bit of structure, a bit of shape into the next game, work on the bits that need to be improved, attacking and defending wise. So you've got to jumble all that into like an hour and a half, and you've also got to entertain the boys a little bit as well because they've been at work all day and they come into the building. They don't want to just be so right, stand there, do this, stand there, do that. They want to get a sweat on. They want to get a bit of running around. They want goals. They want playing five-a-side. They want that, so you've got to fit that in as well. So it's a real jumble. So that would be a Monday and a Thursday. And if you play, and we play our home games on a Monday night, a lot of teams play on a Tuesday. So if you play on a Monday and a Tuesday, that would be another game day. So that'd be 2 game days, and you'd train on the Thursday. But if you play on the Saturday and you play on the Monday or Tuesday, then you've come Thursday, you've got 2 games to review, 2 games to discuss, 2 games to try and analyse. So
Yeah,
be really cautious of what information you can get. Don't try and expand yourself too much and cover too much because you just haven't got time to do that. But
yeah,
obviously, things like WhatsApp is massive within football. Probably every football team has a WhatsApp group, and we've got different WhatsApp groups for different units within the team, and you can contact players quite well now and send them videos and clips. So you might not play on a Tuesday, you might not see them to the Thursday, but there might be a few videos or a few clips or a few messages exchanged that get you ahead of the game come the Thursday. But then you also have to be respectful of these boys' private lives and work, and they don't want me phone again. It goes back to that being their friend but not their best friend. They don't want me knocking on their door to discuss tactics, or phoning them on a Wednesday night when they're not in the building and they want to do their own stuff. So it's a real juggling act to make sure that you sort of read in the room, understanding what's needed, and just the information you give them, just make sure it's relevant and needed and consistent as well. That's quite important, I think.
yeah. That's one of the things that amazes me about Aveley, Dan. You mentioned that you guys play your home games on a Monday night. Now, anyone that does any exercise and goes to the gym will know that if you go to the gym on Saturday, you're going to be aching on Monday because
Mm.
it's 2 days later. How do you get the refreshment back into the boys' legs? How do you keep them fresh? And is it an advantage or a disadvantage? Because are you guys now used to it, and then these players, the teams that are coming to an away game for you guys, and they're not going to be as used to it. Why do you play on a Monday, and how does it kind of go?
Yeah, it's probably nothing I do, and I don't take any credit for that. I think it has to come from the player. It has to come from that individual wanting to do his recovery. So as soon as that game finishes on a Saturday, he goes into that recovery mode, that rest mode. So Saturday night and eat right, drink right, rest up. Sunday, do your stretching, do your recovery, and then Monday sort of get yourself going ready to that game. And I think training on a Monday night helps us because we sort of get into that mentality of coming in, and we get quite good sessions on a Monday. Once a bit slow to get going because everyone's a bit slow on a Monday evening, first day back at work. But once they get going, we get good energy and good intensity into that. So that probably helps us prepare for games on a Monday. It has to go down to the player, and the player has to look after himself, and you're relying on them. And I say to a lot of our boys, and they get fed up with me saying it, what you do, we say we're in on a Saturday, Monday, Thursday. What you do on a Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday is probably more important sometimes in terms of what we can get into you as a team on the days that we're in contact. And if you're not looking after yourself, then your chances of performing are probably going to be slimmer, and you're only going to let yourself down at the end of the day. And I've been really fortunate, and I think we're quite similar this year. We've got a real good fit group. I think the nature of players now, they're a lot fitter, a lot sharper, they look after themselves a lot better, and they're probably a bit more resilient than we give them credit for, and they can go again. And we convince them. There's a few things we do to try and convince them. We've got player data vests that we got all the information on, so we can work out the average runs that they've done as a team and the sprints they've done. And we can sometimes, I shouldn't say this because they might listen, but we can upgrade them a little bit. So, we were the fittest team in the league last year, and we believe that, and I believe that as a manager, and they believe that, and the stats back that up, but the stats maybe didn't quite back it up in terms of where they should have been. So you can convince. I think you can play mind games a little bit with that and talk to people and say, yeah, come on, we're fitter and we're sharper than these. And it's amazing how that can sort of lead in. And I always say after every game, we run more than the last game, and they go, oh, brilliant. And then the challenge is, can we run more than the next game? Because that's a big asset of our structure, is our energy. And as we said earlier, and the energy and the distances we can put in with our running stats is really important. So so it's a bit of mind games in terms of being ready for a Monday. And I think you get that right, then the opposition come with that, like you said, that attitude of, God, how do you recover? How do you get that right? And especially the full-time teams, I remember Yeovil turned up, they didn't look ready to come and play on a Monday night against us at our facility after, travelling all day. And I think they've been in Braintree on the Saturday, so they've been backwards and forwards. And we have to use that to our advantage, isn't it? So we haven't got the powers that they've got, so anything like that might work in our favour, and we try and sell that to the players as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Dan, if we was a fly on the wall, what does a Danny Scopes halftime team talk look like?
Yeah, sometimes a bit emotional, but probably just I'm not really. I've tried to do better and write notes and write stuff down during the game, so I'm a bit structured on there. But I like to. I feel like I've got quite a good memory in terms of from minute 1 to minute 45, say, of that first half. So I feel like I can recap that game, and I have to try and read the room a little bit. And you can normally see by the nature of the players if there's a bit of agitation or there's a bit of aggression, or there's a couple maybe going at each other because they're disagreeing, or they're even saying stuff that you agree with. Then you could buy into that and you could pick up on that. So I think you have to go in and evaluate, and we give the players a couple of minutes, check their injuries, and let them talk for a little bit as well. And I think that sort of paints a picture of where you need to go as well. I have to be cautious. I've got an assistant manager and coaches that want to talk as well, and I'm a bit sometimes bang, 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 and I try and cover everything. So just trying to control that, and I'm still learning. I still get it wrong. I still try different stuff and feel that didn't work and that was rubbish. And I'm the first one to go home and be disappointed in myself at times. And I think that's what drives me to try and be better. But yeah, I like to think it's a bit of structure and a bit of things. It's not a screaming and a shouting, and people need to be told. I think people understand when maybe the standards aren't as good. Sometimes they expect more than maybe, and they don't see that they have actually done some good stuff. So it's just getting that balance right, and a little bit of tactical and a little bit of motivation, and if you feel the room needs lifting, then lift them and give them some help in that. If you feel it needs calming, if it's been a bit of a physical first half and there's a few tackles flying around, then last thing you need to go in and rant and rave and ramp them up a little bit, because they're going to go out and chances are someone might get another yellow card and a red card. So yeah, just managing that situation. So I think flexibility within my team talks, and sometimes I get a bee in my bonnet and I can't let it go, and that's probably something I need to improve on, and I might repeat myself 3 or 4 times on the same point, and I can see them going, yeah, we got it now, but I've just got that bee in my bonnet that I want to get that cleared, and if we do that, that might help us, and I get it right, and I'm not afraid to get it wrong at times, and sometimes you have to step back and let other people talk, because you're emotional, aren't you? You might be seeing it in a different light, and sometimes someone that's a little bit less emotional behind you said something, you go, yeah, you're right, hold on a minute, that's true, like, come on, we need that, but this is more important actually, and not being afraid to listen to others as well, I think is important, and try and keep calm with it, but let the boys know that the second half there is an opportunity, whether it's to get back in the game and win, or whether it's to hold on to what you're doing. Be ready for subs. That's something that we talk about a lot at half time, because players coming on and off, and someone next to you that's different from what you started with, make sure you're ready for them and what their skill set might be compared to others, and knowing how to game management, going for the game, that's something we speak about quite a lot, and being patient. If we're in the game and it's 0-0 with 10 minutes left, that's against some of the big teams in our division, we're in a good place, we'd take that. If someone offered that as a start, we'd say, yeah, brilliant, that'd be brilliant, and we decide whether we want to win it or whether we want to hold on, or whether we are, we've got something to hold on for, we need to sort of defend or make our decisions from there. So a bit of game management within the team talk, I think, is always important as well.
Yeah. Dan, when
Yeah.
you look at the clubs that have come up and come down this year, do you think it's going to be an easier or a tougher division?
Uh, Yeah, someone said to me when the fixtures come out, I said, oh, is there any tough periods? And I said, yeah, from August the 10th till end of April, it looks quite tough to me. And I do, and I say it all the time. I think you look at the whole picture, and you look at Bournemouth and Dawkins and that have come into the division. I look at the teams that have come up in Hornchurch, they're our local rivals, 3-4 miles away from us, and I know what they've got to work with in terms of budget and the type of players they're signing, and they're going to be a real strength. I see someone put them bottom the other day on a prediction league, and that's probably the worst thing you can do. They're going to be really successful at the level. So you've got teams coming up that want to progress and want to do really well, and teams that coming down that want to go straight back up, and then you've got a lot of teams in the middle, that Farnboroughs and Sloughs and Eastbourne boroughs, that want to do really well as well, and have got a full-time bracket. Chelmsford got a full-time environment or a hybrid environment, and they want to do well, and we don't have that, and we're up against it with that. So I looked at it this year, and knowing what people in terms of budgets and players are moving around for, which you get to know, it looks tough. It looks tough, but then I think there's always, you look at it from the start, think, well, we're not going to be better than these, or we're not going to be. There's always someone that gets it wrong, isn't there? And I think Havant and Waterlooville last year, full-time football club, Dartford. Dartford, massive football club, 5 seasons in the playoff, got it wrong last year, got relegated. Eastbourne Borough went to a full-time bracket, got it wrong last year, and nearly got relegated. So always get that, don't you? You always get the overachievers, and you'd always get the ones that are probably, you'd call it failure maybe in time, or haven't met expectations. So we have to hope that there's a few of them, and then hope that there's a couple of overachievers, and we might be one of them overachievers. So, but yeah, I look at it all and think it's tough. It's a tough division, and you can't take your foot off the gas. You've got to stay at it, and you've got to carry on progressing and doing well. Otherwise, it can eat you up a little bit. And I see that at Concord Rangers when I left, and them into step 2, and obviously getting relegated from there, and then getting relegated again as well. And once you start falling, it can be sometimes hard to bounce back.
Yeah. We think about where you're located, Dan, right next to Lakeside Shopping Centre, and you've got lots of clubs, actually, lots of big clubs, haven't you? With West Ham just up the road, Dagenham and Redbridge as well, not too
Yeah.
far away from you. How much potential for growth is there at Aveley? How far do you think you can take them, Danny?
Yeah, I think growth's there already. I think it's showing. I think it's quite a the area's had some good development, i.e. the new stadium and lots of new houses, and it's a small village. Don't get me wrong, Aveley Football Club, but surrounded by some bigger towns and bigger areas and a lot of schools, primary schools, a lot of senior schools, so a lot of kids and footfall. So we have to sort of tap into them. And I think at Millfield they were averaging probably 30, 40 people, but new stadium, I think our average was around about 450 last year. So it has grown. Obviously, we're playing bigger teams and bigger games, so people will come, and so it has grown. I think we just have to keep trying to perform on the pitch, and they want to come and see a team that plays well. They want to try and come and see a team that wins, ideally, and the more you win, the more people will come. And I think there's always a ceiling. I sometimes see these football clubs and they go, "Oh, we get 900 people a week, but we need 2,000 a week," and people don't jump from one club to another. People are quite loyal, aren't they, and tribal in their football club. So I think it's very hard to grow from sort of 900 to then 2,000 supporters. So there's probably a limit to what we can do, but we've got to try and reach that, and we've got to try and push and get as many people coming in the building and then coming back again. And I think if we can do that in supporter base, and we haven't got loads, but they're very vocal, they're very committed, and it's grown and grown. I've been really impressed with our supporters over the few seasons. Real loyal, honest people. They clap us when we lose, which is important, and they cheer us when we win. They celebrate that, and they're always in the clubhouse afterwards, whether we win or we lose, which I think is important. And I think there's room to grow. We've got a good site. We're trying to develop the site that we're on, because we've got 3G pitch, which is our main pitch, which is new, and we're looking to maybe hopefully get more 3Gs or more facilities so we can bring our youngsters into the building, so everybody can become Aveley Football Club. And I think then you get that association with the football club, and if youngsters are in and they see the first team have got a game, they might come and watch, and that helps. And I think we just have to keep pushing and stay active, and ideally keep winning on the pitch and keep providing them with good moments, which is tough and going to be challenging. But I think if you keep putting Aveley on the map with big wins or surprise wins, or cup runs is always a good one, isn't it, to draw interest, then we can grow. And there'd be a ceiling probably, but let's push it and let's see how far we can keep. Once we get to that ceiling, can we push it to the next level and get the extension, so to speak. So
Yeah. Well, Danny, I'm sure there are plenty of clubs keeping an eye on you personally. How ambitious are you? Do you ever dream to go on and manage at a higher level at some point in the future?
yeah, I would say I do. I never managed to be a full-time footballer, and something I always wanted to do as a youngster, and disappointed I didn't able to do that. So to be a full-time manager, I'd be lying if I said that didn't excite me, and to be able to do that on a daily basis would be really good. And obviously running a family and running a business and running a part-time football team can be really challenging. So taking one of them out of that would you'd like to think would help and make life a little bit easier. But there's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes that would have to be right for that to happen, and financially that would have to be right. And I'm not saying that I'd have to get paid loads of money to do that, but I've got a wife and kids and a mortgage and a business I need to look after as well, and I'd have to manage the business in a certain way. I'm not just an employee, I'm a director and an owner, and got responsibilities of other staff that I would have to look after as well. So there's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes, but I don't want to lie and say no, that's not something I would dream of. I would like that, and ideally that might come in the future, but it would have to stack up. And at the moment, I'm manager of Aveley Football Club, and it's a part-time, and it works for me, and I love every minute of it, and it's been brilliant in terms of that, and I'm going to carry on doing that. But like I say, it's nice to be touted, it's nice to be spoke about in that way, which has happened, but I'm quite humble in terms of it's a lot of work, and I've had a lot of support to be the manager and to be this, and there's a lot of people behind me that have done a lot of hard work alongside me that's important as well. So I'm patient, I'm getting a bit older, maybe losing a bit of energy, but I'm just enjoying it at the moment, and I've got to think if I keep enjoying it, and what will be at the end of the day. And as I said earlier, if I can leave football knowing that I've been respectful, and I leave with people going, yeah, he was all right, then I'll probably be happy with that. So I'm quite content.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, Dan. Well, we're going to take a really quick break before coming back to ask you the final few signature from the club questions. So, Danny, as you know, as a business, we're all about official signed memorabilia. So, these last few questions are all memorabilia related. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Dan, have you ever asked anyone for their autograph in person before? And if so, who?
I have, yeah. I was 16, I think, at the time, and I'd gone on holiday with my family to Florida, and we'd gone down to some peaks in Orlando, and I had a friend with me, and it was off season in basketball, NBA, and the Chicago Bulls were playing. They weren't playing Orlando; they were playing another team in like a preseason match, and
Yeah.
me and my mate managed to get tickets for the game, and we went down there, and it wasn't a massive crowd, and they played this sort of exhibition game as I can't remember who they were playing now, but Chicago Bulls. And it was the days when they had Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and stuff. So yeah, so we managed to weasel us a couple of 16-year-olds weasel ourselves through to the where the players were coming in, the players' entrance towards the end of the game, and he went past, and we had a bit of ticket and a pen, and I asked Michael Jordan if he would sign my ticket. Unfortunately, he went, I can't, and walked off, so I didn't actually get it, but I did ask the question. So, and he was probably one of my idols, and still, what a sportsman he was. Obviously, growing up and liking basketball as a second sport, he was, a real idol and a real legend of the game. So, yeah, so it was. I didn't really probably see that at 16, but yeah, I didn't get the autograph, but I ended up going to buy a Jordan shirt from the shop. So that was it. Still got that. So yeah.
When you said that you went to Orlando and you was asking someone for an autograph, I thought you were going to say Mickey Mouse at Disney World.
Yeah, I've done that as well though. Yeah, because I've been there with the kids, and the autograph books come out when they were really young, and
Yeah.
kids were a bit shy, aren't they? So I think I
Yeah.
asked Mickey Mouse and Pluto. I think it was my ones, and yeah, and that was it. Yeah, I've actually asked Mickey Mouse, and it might have been Minnie Mouse actually, and Pluto for their autograph when we were at breakfast with them. So yeah, I've done that as well.
Yeah.
So
I've done that, mate. Nice
yeah,
memories. Yeah.
yeah.
So, Dan, do you own any memorabilia? And if so, what's your favourite piece?
I probably let the side down a little bit in that I don't. I've got a shirt, if that counts, behind me, which is
Yeah,
our
yeah,
Concord shirt from our FA Trophy final. I've got framed, and I've got a couple of other Aveley shirts from our sort of promotion season framed. So more personal memorabilia than other people's memorabilia. And I bought a signed. I think it was Northampton won the cricket league or division, what it was, and there was a charity, and I put my hand up a few times and won a signed Northampton cricket bat that I took home, and the wife wasn't too pleased about, and so I think she sold it on eBay and got a bit of money back for it, not as much as I'd paid for it. So yeah, so I haven't, yeah, I'm letting the side down in that really. I quite like that sort of stuff, and I've got a friend or a guy I used to manage actually. I haven't seen him for a little while, Chris Stowe, who does a lot of that sort of stuff, and he does West Ham bits and boxing stuff, and
yeah, yeah.
always on his social media looking at bits, thinking, "Oh, that looked really nice" and stuff. And I'm hopefully going to build something at home where I maybe could start collecting some few bits, but my wife wouldn't want anything on the wall or on the even my
Well, no. After that first
manager of the year
purchase, Dan.
trophy. Yeah, my manager of the year trophy's in the loft, so she won't have it on the fireplace. So yeah, so it's yeah, it's no good. No, we've got the office.
Dan,
Yeah.
if you could have anyone's autograph, dead or alive, not that you'd be able to put it up, you'd have to go up in the loft, I'd imagine. Who would you have
Yeah,
and why?
I'd like to. I think George Best would be one. He was my dad's hero. My dad used to play football, and he had the long hair, and people used to say he wasn't George Best. Don't get me wrong, he played at a good level. He, local football, and then was in at Charlton and Southend United, and he was a very good footballer, my dad. And so I'm told didn't see loads of him, but he had the long hair, and his idol was George Best, and he never got to meet him and that. But yeah, if I could have that, and I could keep that with, I lost my dad in the summer, and I'd keep that autograph with my dad's bits and bobs and that. I think my dad would be
Yeah,
proud of that as well. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, Dan, mate, I thoroughly enjoyed speaking to you over the last hour. Thank you again for your time.
yeah.
Just let us know your closing thoughts and also let everybody know how they can keep in touch with what you're doing.
Yeah, closing thought. Thank you. Firstly, some great questions, and like I say, I like to talk and I like to chat football, and I chat to people all day about football. But I like to see myself as a humble person, and I wouldn't be where I was today without sort of support and family on a daily basis, and my kids and my wife and my mum and my dad in my time as well, and lots of other people that are really close over a period of time. So it's lovely to speak to people like yourself and get to know new people. But like I say, I'm quite simple, and I don't want people to think that I know it all, because I don't, and I get a lot wrong, and I'm not afraid to say that as well. And I think that's a big thing. People have to, like I say, look in the mirror really rather than out the window. I think so. I live by it and keep people happily. So, but yeah, no, in terms of contacts, I'm on Twitter, or X as it's called, and Instagram. I'm not sure I know how to work them that well, but I'm on there somewhere. So if you need to find me, you can find me at Dan Scopes, I think it is 6. That used to be my number as a player, but yeah, like I always try and help people, and my wife says I help too many people maybe, but I don't think that's a bad thing. And I'll try, if anyone wants to reach out, if I've worked with them before, coached them before, and I can help, and I'll only ever be honest, and might disagree with me, but I'll always try and help people where I can. And I enjoy people being successful and doing well, and I don't think that's a bad place to be, or a bad person to be, really.
Yeah, but Dan, I'm going to find both your Instagram and your X account, and I'll make sure that they're in the description below. So wherever you're listening to this, go make sure that you give Dan a follow and let him know that you've listened to the interview. And Dan, once again, mate, thanks very much for your time. I think I'm going to be seeing you in a couple of weeks. You're coming down to Eastbourne Borough. We live in Eastbourne, so
Oh,
we'll be seeing you
yeah.
one of the
Oh,
first games of
brilliant.
the season, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
so
Yeah, I'll look out for you.
look
Yeah,
forward
come
to
say
that.
hello. So, yeah, no,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, do.
yeah. One before the bank holiday, isn't it? I think that one. Yeah.
That's
So
it,
no,
mate. Yeah,
yeah, it'll be a tough game. Yeah, really good. But I'm looking forward to that. I think they've got a really good manager at Eastbourne now. Recruited really well, some good players.
yeah.
George Alexander, I've worked with before, and Alf Pavey, I think it is up front, and yeah, they'll be a real handful. So that'll be a real good challenge for us. But yeah, one we look forward to.
Look forward to seeing you, Dan. Thanks again for all your time, mate. Really appreciate it, buddy.
No, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me on.